Hello, folks, and welcome to our Adobe Live session from the UK with a really exciting topic today because we have a full house and tons to cover. Right, Rufus? Back for a topic that is close to your heart.
That's a topic that's really close to my heart because, you know, the creative residency and Adobe Live and the creative jams was all part of an initial phase that we started, I think, 6 years ago. And yeah, I was part of the founding fathers of this, you know, or like fathers and mothers of this really great project. And I can't wait to, you know, to spend some time today with the UK community to, you know, to have our guests Franziska and Christina, who we're gonna introduce very shortly, talk about that very exciting project. And I see the chat is already very, very active. So hello, everyone. And I've already seen some questions about the creative residency and about the creative fund, which is something very interesting that has been launched this year. But without further ado, let's introduce our guests today. And we have Franziska Parschau from Berlin. She's actually our community. No, well, actually, Franziska, you introduce yourself.
Just go ahead. Take it away.
Thanks. So hi, I'm Franziska. I'm community manager in Berlin, Germany. I am a colleague from Rufus and Emma. And yeah, I'm working on the creative residency team. And now, yeah, we have this creative residency fund. I think I will talk a bit about it in a second and hand it over to Christina.
Hiya, I'm Christina Poku. I'm a photographer and art director, and I am one of only 2 residents this year, and I'll be specializing in photography.
Yay, Christina, welcome to the creative residency.
Thank you.
And big congratulations as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Christina made the cut this year and is one of our creative residents. And I'm super excited that we do have a creative resident in Europe, and Christina is that. So Franziska, why don't you tell us a little bit about the creative residency and what it is, and maybe a history behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually my most favorite program at Adobe. I think it's also the best program at Adobe because it's
the bestest.
It's the bestest because it's yeah, an absolute cool opportunity for creatives to spend some time with their work and get mentorship and really focus on own projects, on portfolio, and on basically their own career. And this is the 3rd year that we run it in the UK. You know, like my brain is already messed up a bit from staying at home so long. It's the 3rd year that we run in the UK. The program actually was established, I think 6 years ago, started out in the US, and every year it got a bit bigger with more residents, with more countries. Last year we also expanded to Japan, and yeah, it's a great thing. And then Corona came, I have to say. Basically, the whole creative residency program that we had kind of like shifted a bit into a different direction, and an even better direction, because we were like sitting there, and of course we wanted to have our residents, but on the other hand, we were like, there's so many creatives out there that really need support right now. And not just the small amount of creative residents that we had in the past years. And we were thinking, okay, what can we do to help more people, and not just to help 20 more people, but hundreds of people. And yeah, we came up with a new program. Part of the program is called the Creative Residency Community Fund. And yeah, we have a bit of money to support people.
Yeah, that's a euphemism, like one.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Pocket money.
It's called the 1 Million Community Fund. US dollars. So, and we really hope to support hundreds of creatives during the next year. It's not limited to the next couple of months. We really want to spend this money, on the next year. And applications are open, and we're super happy to still continue with the residency. As Rufus mentioned, Christina mentioned, we have 2 residents, and Christina is one of them. And I'm super excited to have her. That she applied, and we kind of like found her in the hay. She's amazing. She's a photographer. We will. Huh? It's a German saying. Or you can like
in English it just sounds like she's a gem.
You can Google. You can Google now what it means. Super excited. I think we will jump into her portfolio right now.
Well, Franziska, why don't you also present the other resident?
Yes.
Before we jump to Christina, because
yes,
the interesting thing about the residency is that in the beginning it was only in the US. So the first 2 years, the first 2 or 3 years was only in the US, and people were freaking out all around the world. But
now we lost Rufus.
We lost Rufus.
No. Okay, so I continue for him.
Go ahead. Yeah. Transition into the resident.
Yeah. So it started as we said, started in the US with 2 people, then 4 people. Then it came to Germany. Then we started in the UK, as I mentioned 3 years ago, and to Japan, and now. We condensed it back to the US and UK. Christina is in London, and Maddie, our other creative resident, is in Denver, Colorado. And she is a UX designer. You can actually look her up also on our website. She's a UX designer, and Now I kind of like lost the thing that I wanted to say. Give me a question. So we have like those 2 cool people that you can follow their journey. You see their links here. They're both on Instagram, of course. Follow their journey. And learn with them basically what it means to become a creative, freelance creative.
And we'll make sure, Tim, I think Tim just shared the link in the chat as well. So for anyone who wants to go and have a look and find out a little bit more, obviously Christina is going to be telling us more now, but feel free to have a look around and through the different links and dive right into it. But Christina, on to you. We're so excited to have you. Again, welcome to the Adobe family. And I know this is your first stream, so it's a special moment. Yeah. But you're doing plenty more of those, I can tell you.
That's great. Thank you. So, Franziska, do you want to put up my portfolio?
Yes.
That would be great. So I'll start by talking a bit about my project. So with the residency, you propose your main project idea, and then you have 2 side projects. I had to make some last-minute changes because of the current situation, because some of my stuff that I wanted to do won't be feasible now. But that's great. It's just given me some more time to think about other projects that I want to work on. For my main project, I'll be exploring the idea of technology as abundance. I'll be working with photography, GIFs, and using set design to create stage scenes that explore how technology can create growth, build community, and also create a change in access to entry. I'll be engaging with the community by documenting my own journey and making tutorials, posting behind the scenes work. I'm also going to be using TikTok to share different techniques and accessible ways of working and looking at mobile photography, because I think it's really important that as technology has evolved, it's allowed people who maybe couldn't afford a full DSLR or whatever to begin to learn the fundamentals of composition and lighting. And also we can see just around the world that there's been like a diversification of who has access to tell stories, which I think is really important. And also there's just loads of really amazing photographers who, use mobile photography as a professional. That's what they use, and I think it's really interesting to see how, as these things evolve, the stories and the images that we see change and develop. So that's something I'm really excited to explore more. Yep. So a little bit about my journey.
And Christina, just a quick question: What compelled you to apply for the creative residency? And what was the spark?
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine told me about it, and I couldn't remember the name. Because obviously Adobe offer so many different programs, I couldn't remember that it was a full-on residency. And when I found the link, I had missed the application the year before just by like a few days. So the whole rest of the year, I was like, when the application's open again, I have to apply. I think for me, it's a pretty rare opportunity to have a full year funded to just be able to explore something that you're really passionate about, as well as having the mentorship and the access to Adobe, and having like such a important company to be like partnering with you is really a rare opportunity. So as soon as I found out about it, I was like, I have to apply for this. It's like a once in a lifetime chance. So I'm really grateful that I managed to get it.
I think it's great, Franziska, right? Like we have people like applying like last minute and getting in sometimes. Sometimes we have people that, that spend a whole year thinking about the residency and then getting it. So there's many different ways.
Or also people applying twice. We had Laura in the stream yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yesterday. Yep.
Yesterday. And she applied twice, and then first time, nope. Second time, yay. So if you think creative residency is something for you, you applied and you got an A, do it again, really. Think about it again, think about what you want to do, and
something else, I think, Franziska, you can, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's also a confidence part of this as well. And I think a lot of artists tend to think, am I even, worthy of this? And are my ideas, kind of concrete enough for this? And I know I could hear you on the phone, previously sometimes being like, look, doesn't have to be this, very detailed day-to-day schedule of what you'll be doing. And I think that's something really exciting and open-minded about the program.
Yeah, and also, I mean, like that's the feedback at least that we get, and also how I tend to explain the thing is like, you can sit down. This is like a chance for you, for your creative career, basically, to sit down and come up with like something like a small business plan. You really start to think about, who am I? What do I want to do? What's kind of like important for me? What do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do with my career? What do I need to, to bring my career forward? And this goes into the application. And then, if it's in there, we kind of like get a feeling of who you are and what you want to do and how we actually can support you as well.
I think, one of the key things is really this opportunity for growth. This is something that we look for in creative residents is, where are they at when they start the residency, and, what is the potential they can gain once the residency is finished. And maybe another thing that you can talk about, Franziska, is once the residency is over, of course, the residents are part of the family, and there's always corporations after that as well. Most of the time, it's not like this one instance and then it's done.
It's over. No, it's not. Actually, I just got the announcement of 99U tonight in my mailbox, which is like a conference run by Adobe in New York. And of course, we all wanted to go there. We wanted to be there. And it's in June. It's in New York, and everybody was excited. Okay, not gonna happen, but it's online. And Ting, our last week's creative resident, she'll be speaking there because she's just an awesome person. And I mean, like, you out there know her because she's been on the stream so many times here. So it's definitely not over, this connection to Adobe, and also other things. I mean, also in Germany, Forward Festival, our residents are basically they're constantly talking on the stages. So yeah, I think it's in general like a boost to your career, and it's not going to stop after the residency.
And there's a question from Eudalia. I thought you can only apply once to the creative residency. See the FAQ on the application form. Yes, you can apply only once per year, but I don't think there's a rule that you cannot apply the year after.
No, it's not. Do it again. I mean, it really helps to, yeah, think about again what you want to do, come up maybe with like a better idea. Yeah. And also we remember your name most of the times. I'm like, I saw that name last year. So
yeah, that's what my chuckle was.
Yeah.
I thought you meant that you have loads of people applying, sending in loads of applications each year.
That's why you came to the event, Christina, and you were like,
yeah,
hi, and then she maybe remembers.
Yeah,
it was like mild harassment just to, to get on this.
But you know, maybe it works. We don't know.
Subliminal messages.
Oh no! Please don't send me messages. Okay,
but Christina, we completely interrupted. Should we get back to your little presentation as well? And
So Franziska, you can.
Do you want to jump? Which project do you want to jump into? This one?
You can talk about the IRL one with the jelly flower. Yeah. So this is a project that I did that was basically, well, the whole project is inspired about a time in my life where the trajectory of my life kind of dramatically changed, and I had to take some time off to focus on my mental health and my health in general. And I used technology and social media to stay connected to the world, to build a community for my personal life, as well as my creative network, and using stuff like tutorials online and just being able to connect to people who were way further ahead in their careers than me allowed me to keep learning and learn new programs and techniques and skills. So that's kind of what the basis of my project is inspired by. This series here was made during that period, and I was exploring the idea of like presentation in the current culture and building like hyperreal settings, which has become kind of my signature thing. I think the bright colors has become something that I'm kind of known for now. That came about actually when I used to make films when I studied fine art, and it's just kind of stuck, and it's something I really enjoy.
Yeah,
so
and it's
that series.
Definitely some like, I mean, the reason why we kind of like discovered Christina's application, all those other applications, was like the style. I mean, look at this. I think at least at the residency, we never had a photographer like this doing those really bold color things where you actually don't know if it's like, what is it? Is it real? Is it 3D? Is it, you know, super surreal, super cool.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm looking at for one of my side projects. So in the future, one of my long-term goals is to have run a full-service photography studio that also collaborates with 3D designers and motion designers and graphic designers to really like push the boundaries of what digital image making can look like. So it goes alongside my hyperreal aesthetic, and I'm hoping to collaborate with a couple of friends this year as part of some of my side projects as well. So I'm really looking forward to that.
And you also wanted to dive into this project, right?
Yeah, sure. This is just a quick one, which is an example of using, so I did this doing photography and some set design, but then combined some techniques that I learned on dimensions, which is super fun to learn to play with new things. I think that's something that's always been part of my journey. I studied fine art in school, but I also did graphics at school. And then I've been that person that's always tried to just learn bits. I think even if you don't take on all of those things with your everyday practice, I think it's really important to learn different skills so that you have an understanding of how these things could work and to help you choose the things that you're best at. So that was a really fun thing just to play around with. This is a portrait series that I did. It was documenting some like fellow creatives in London who are friends or like part of my network, and using lighting and filters to explore how you can capture different people. I really love also doing stuff like close-ups, so capturing the little details was really fun. It was the first portrait series I shot in a little while, actually. Yeah.
So cool. Silence.
We had a couple people in the chat noticing the sticky project. What was sticky about?
Yeah, hang on. Where is it?
So
it was just a little bit
it's
after the
further along this one, the next one. Yeah. So that one is just a game. Like I said, I really enjoy playing with techniques and stuff. So I've gotten really into shooting stuff with my macro lens, and that's like different shaped jellies. And so I was just playing with gels and lighting to just explore how you can warp forms and capture forms, which is something I just find really interesting as a good way to just experiment with different lighting techniques. And jelly has become a thing that's in a lot of my work. I'm not sure why. I think for me it's just a really fun, interesting combination of texture and form. So it's become like a recurring thing in some of my work. So I guess it was a bit of like an ode to jelly.
So there's a question from James he's asking, can this be done alongside a full-time job? I know that Tim already answered in the chat, but no, the creative residency is really a full-time job for 1 year, and funded by Adobe to work on your dream project. But there is now this creative residency community fund, which Franziska will talk about a little bit later, which could be interesting. And this is something that that could be applied for even if you have a job, right?
Yeah.
Franziska?
Yeah. Let's talk about it in a second. Yeah, I mean, absolutely fantastic work. I think I will hop over to your Instagram account, Christina.
So that's me on Instagram. You can find me there. Obviously, I've just announced the residency, so I'll be posting work from the residency as it happens. I'm spending the next couple of weeks just getting all of my goal planning and stuff in place, because now that I actually had the time to sit down and think about what I'm going to do the residency, I want to make sure that's all solidified before kicking off. And then I'm going to be starting to post on TikTok some videos that I've been making too. So you can follow me there if you want to see my journey and get some behind the scenes stuff that I'll be posting. There's some different bits of my work up on the Instagram, and sometimes it's just like experimentation on there as well. There's some stuff like the beauty stuff, like the eye has been some stuff I've been exploring with as well. I think the still life stuff, playing with macros, is kind of translates with doing beauty stuff. Beauty macro stuff has been something I find really interesting. I think capturing little details is something I really enjoy, which will be something you'll see in a few of the projects that I'm going to be doing over the next year. So I'm excited to start shooting those, and I'm working on the art direction for the project at the moment as well.
So how are you envisioning, like, of course, like Franziska mentioned at the beginning, everything changed a few weeks back.
Yeah.
How are you thinking about, the residency now, and how are you shifting things around, in order to reach goals,
Yeah, so I think it's like taking the time these first couple of weeks to make sure I'm really grounded in what it is that I want to do, so that I can actually be focused. I think it's been a very surreal time to have landed this. I've been working from home, which, even though I've done it for quite a long period of time beforehand, has been much more difficult, I think, just because of everything, the context of why we're working from home. So I'm just trying to get as focused as I can be. One of the projects I wanted to do originally did involve people, but obviously that got changed, which is fine, because it's allowed me to think about some other projects where I want to work with like 3D and stuff. So at the moment it's just sort of having my plan and having the goals for like the next few months, and obviously if things evolve, they evolve. But Franziska's been a really great support to have, so that's been great.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really interesting time also, for Christina and for Maddie, because of course, I mean, usually we started the residency with festivals, talks, meeting people. Not going to happen anymore. So
you're doing some sort of a speaker training before the conference.
Speaker trainings. onboarding sessions in real life, meeting the other residents. Yeah, it's all interesting and completely different. I mean, Christina doesn't know how it was before, so yeah.
Now we do Adobe Live,
Exciting.
so
yeah,
it's
true.
Yep.
No, it's been great.
happening.
Daily Adobe Lives from
Exactly.
the sofa. And yeah, this was our solution to this problem that we're all facing. And and yeah, we moved. Actually, this is new in the UK. This is this is what, the 27th or 28th stream
28th.
that we do. 28th that we do from the sofa. And yeah, and we're gonna continue as long as it takes until we can move back to studios and things like that. But of course, we don't know when that is. So, you know, we're going to be from the sofa for the foreseeable future. But anyway, Franziska, before we move on, can you just like give us a quick overview also of the prior two residents from the UK, and maybe like just go and like talk a little bit about them?
Oh yeah, I could actually, should I show the Instagram as well, maybe?
Yeah.
So last year, it's like, so residency starts in May. So Christina is basically a resident since a week. And before we had Octavia. I have to Google. And Octavia is an illustrator, and you know her face and you know her artwork because she's been all around. Fantastic illustrator, fantastic person, and her topic throughout the year, if you want to call it a topic, I mean, basically, of course, she has been working on her own projects, but her thing is she wants to not just be known as an illustrator, but also she wants to be known as an illustrator who has like this positive messages and who has messages for that basically are around mental health issues, or not issues, but around mental health, and about doing positive things and little things that you can do during your day to cheer up and have a good life. Should be on 99U conference in June, which is basically free. So maybe you should also register for that.
Yeah, and she was on Adobe Live from the sofa a few weeks back, and
yeah,
funny, she also did something with for the Tiger King. That's weird. That's,
where?
Go get them, Tiger. That's the Tiger King, isn't it? It looks like the Tiger King. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was also super cool to see her journey during the last year when she started. Basically, she was a freelancer for a year, illustrator. She isn't a trained illustrator. She went to university in London and decided the city is too much from her, and went back home to rural countryside UK and started illustrating to not get crazy, and did this for some time, and then decided she wants to become an illustrator and applied for the residency, and really took off the last year. Was really, really, really cool to see. And the year before, we had Isabel Lia, who's running the studio Atypical. And was also really cool working with her. Actually, I have to move you around. It's not so much to see here. Maybe if I click on work. And Izzy basically applied with a project where she wanted to focus on typography, and language. And this was also something, I mean, we saw the application and we were like, yeah, okay, it's different and it's cool. You might have seen those clocks around. I think they've become a bit popular during her residency time. And And we really like this playful approach with like how she works with type. And what she did during the year, basically trying out as much as possible, experimenting and setting up her studio. And whenever we have a call now, it's like, Franzi, I can't join the call. I'm so busy. I have so many things to do. So I guess the studio is running very well. She was also the first resident who actually had an employee, like right in the beginning after the residency. So yeah, I think, super cool if you can use the time to really set something up that's sustainable also afterwards. And she did
see
that.
Christina smiling already from a packed schedule.
It's like
coming your way. She's like, wait, excited but also stressed out.
Yeah,
No, it's been really good so far.
Yeah, and as you can see, I mean, like we're always looking for people who do something maybe not different, but you know, as you can see, it's not like the same style. We're not always having like same kind of people with same kind of photography or something. So at least when I have a look at the applications, I always try to find something that's kind of like new also for you out there to observe, explore, and see and learn.
Yeah, can you talk a bit more about the criteria? Sorry, Rufus.
No, sorry, I just said that like the interesting thing, you know, also with Isabel, like we were focusing on type, and you know, she collaborated a lot with Adobe fonts and things like that. And Octavia, of course, used, you know, our Fresco application a lot for her illustrations. So it was like a really good mix of the right people at the right time, right, Franziska?
Absolutely.
And basically, we can also see from residents from other regions, like from Germany, for example, you know, residents going into virtual reality or doing strange things like that. You know, like experimenting, like the far side of Adobe.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool too. And I'm so excited, you know, to have Christina on board for this year, because her photography really lends itself to also like that new storytelling for this day and age, I think. And like you mentioned, Franziska, the bright colors, all of this is something that is needed right now, I think.
Absolutely.
And it's spot on. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Criteria. Yeah. Residency. I mean, there's like this official criteria where, of course, we're looking basically for people who are in the early stages of the career. If you have like a long running career, I mean, there's nothing that we can teach you, right? So we're looking for people who are, you know, just right out of university or just started their job, really want to have a year where they can explore. It's a lot about exploring as well, trying out, finding their own voice, artistic voice, meeting people, getting in touch with people. People are willing also, as Rufus mentioned, to get in touch with our teams and try out new products, give them feedback and stuff like that. And I think what all of the residents have in common is like a vision of what they want to do and a little bit of a special thing in their creative practice, I would say.
Well, it takes some guts, right? I mean, you know,
Definitely.
It takes some guts because basically you're committing for 1 year. There is, of course, you know, pressure. No pressure, Christina, but there is, you know, there's many things that are happening, and you know, I'm really looking forward also to see in this new world that is, you know, opening for us in these months, you know, how this will all evolve and how, you know, this creative residency and how creativity in general actually will evolve. And you know, Franziska and Emma, you know, I'm the eternal optimist, so, or you know, possibilist. So I'm thinking,
So am I.
I'm thinking a lot of good things can come out of that, and yeah, let's see. I'm super.
I think Yeah, I think it's also another criteria for our residents. They must be willing to share what they learn, basically. So when Rufus says, yeah, let's see what creativity does now, like what's going to happen now with creativity. We want our residents to bring the sparkle to other people as well. These are our creativity, I don't know how we say that, bombs. No. So it's really there. Rufus, we can't hear you. It's really there.
What?
I don't know. I don't even find a word in German. It's really, okay. I mean, like, you know, they're the ignition maybe for other people's creativity.
So Velai says, it's so inspiring to hear stories about creative people who started on their own and made it in the industry. I didn't know about the creative residency. I'll give it a try, although I'm over 30 years old. Well,
do it. No problem.
No problem.
Do it.
The important thing, and this we've mentioned several times already, is that there needs to be some sort of a point where you're at and a point where you want to be at after 1 year. And basically this is our proposition to you, is to guide you through that 1 year, to help you grow, to help you meet the right people, to go to to get the right information, to grow. And then maybe, you know, some of the residents have created their own studio, like Isabel, or, you know, other residents have shifted their focus to other creative fields. But it's also very interesting to see what happens after the residency. But it's surely a very, very great experiment, both for us and the residents, I think.
I think something I got told during the process and in the orientation was that it's supposed to help me grow 3 years in one, which I feel like it's definitely done for the majority of the past residents.
Now the pressure is on us.
Live up to this now, Franziska. The promises. But Christina, can you you just mentioned the process a little bit. Can you tell us more about that as well? Like how you applied and
sure.
you know, even time frame and things like that for everyone to get a sense of the application.
So I, even though I had been thinking about applying it since the year before, I didn't actually hand in my application until the last day because I kept tweaking it.
Very wise.
Yeah. So that was really, it was a lot of fun work. And actually I'd seen all the past residents sort of saying that the application was really useful to do even if you didn't get the residency. And I think that is definitely true. It really allowed me to think about things that were important to me as a creative and think about my goals. And then I think it was so the application deadline, I think, was the 22nd of January. Then I heard from Franziska in the very beginning of February to have a video screening, which was really exciting and was really fun, actually. And then I think it was only a week later, I had to do an in-person full day interview, which was really exciting, but really nerve-wracking for me. I hadn't done like a full day interview before. But everyone was really lovely, and it was actually just really useful to be able to speak to people directly, to also, as much as you're being interviewed, you're also there to ask questions that you have. And it was a really good opportunity to make sure that it was the right thing for me. And then after that, I think I had 3 more interviews. So the whole process was really helpful because you get to speak to different people from different parts of Adobe. So it was really useful to have like a general understanding of how different departments would work with me as a resident. And just everyone was just really friendly. So it was really a really lovely introduction. So that happened. And then I had to make a couple of revisions along the way, which was good fun, actually. It just sort of pushed you to make sure you were thinking about how you could best use the time. And then I had the last minute coronavirus changes that had to be made. And then it was on Good Friday I found out, actually, I got a phone call from Julia, like I got it. And I was actually in the middle of giving myself a quarantine haircut when she rang. So yeah, the whole process was from January till it was in last month that I found out that I got it. So it was a really exciting process and a really unique process as well, even just the actual applications and the interviewing. So yeah, it's been really fun so far.
It's probably a very creative interview as well. Nothing like, you know, applying in an agency or, you know.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
But Rufus, I think you found another optimist. This sounds like such a positive experience.
Thank you.
Contagious. We have some questions in the chat as well. And one thing that I actually wanted to ask, and seems to come up as well, is the whole creative practice. So you're so open to different fields as well, and also kind of diversity. And someone is asking, what's the likelihood of being selected if you're changing from one creative practice to a completely different one?
Okay, so how likely is it to change?
The brains are going.
Yeah. Brain, we need to rewire again. How likely it is to change, or how to get picked as a resident if you change the practice, or if you change from one practice to the other? Is that the question?
So I think there's several ways to interpret this, but one of them being if you're new to this practice, but you have a different creative background and you're, I guess, dipping your toe into something new.
Okay.
Or also if you change during that year and you end up going on a tangent and, you know.
So the answer to the latter part of the question is a lot of residents actually do something different throughout the year and really try out new things and explore things that they actually stick with which was not their initial plan. So that's definitely possible, and that's definitely happening because, you know, a year is long. You have, I mean, everybody who made plans before knows what's happening with plans. You just like get rid of them at some point. So this is definitely something that happens all the time. Residents starting out with a plan and then, you know, skipping them, doing something else, also experimenting with new technologies and getting a new focus for their practice. And the first question, or first part of the question, is at least what I understood, is when you change a practice from one creative field to the other, and you think the creative residence is something for you because you have the time to actually figure out what you can do in the new practice, it's definitely something for you as well, even though you don't have like a big portfolio. I think, I mean, of course, we need kind of like something to see, you know, what you can do, what you're capable of.
Something to pique your interest as well. Like, you know, like something that where we say, wow, you know.
That's interesting. Yeah. But even if you don't have like a huge portfolio of things, of course, like still apply because, we want to see, as we said, like, what are you interested in? Like, do we get the sparkle when we see your stuff? And even if you don't have like a long, I don't know, even if you haven't been working in the field for a long time, we can still see it. I think also Christina can talk about it because basically she also did a bit of a shift, right? Coming from set design and doing other things, and now really venturing into photography. So something like this really, no problem.
Yeah, and I can also say that, you know, in the hundreds of guests that I had on Adobe Live, many of them, you know, have shifted careers along the way. You know, from doing something and then doing something completely different. And it is definitely possible. And also, I always invite people, like, you know, like, don't give up on your dreams. Like for example, in Germany, there's Melanie David. She's a UX UI designer who always told me, yeah, I would love to go back to illustration. I would love illustration. So I always like kind of pushed her, like, why don't you restart illustration? Why don't you do illustration? And now she does illustration full time, you know, and you know, anything is possible, I think.
Yeah.
And that includes the creative residency, of course. The thing is that the creative residency is a really great place to or opportunity to try out new things, but you have to have some sort of a clear idea of what you want to experiment with, and not necessarily how, but because the how that can be taught or shown, but some sort of an idea that you know, gets us to say, wow, okay, I would love to see that, you know.
Yeah.
Mm. So, Franziska, why don't we chat a little bit about this Creative Residency Community Fund? Because there's a lot of questions already here. You know, what is a commission? What is that? What is this other thing? You know, what's in it? How does it work? How do I apply? How do I get the money? How much money is there?
And before you start, Franziska, I want to say that you guys have been working day and night on this, and I'm really super proud that you're launching that.
Yeah, this is something that we really pulled out within the last 3 weeks, basically. And I'm super excited, even though the thingies get bigger and bigger.
What
super
thingies?
excited.
These thingies here?
These thingies?
Yeah.
How are they called? The bags.
You know, and my beard gets whiter and whiter. You know?
Yeah. It's like a backpack already here. We're so excited, like really about how many people we can support with this fund. As we said before, we have 1 million that we want to spend during the next year. So even though you might think, hey, maybe is not a good moment to apply, do it next month, do it the months after, do it in October, do it in December, do it whenever you feel ready. We came up with two ideas, basically. Since it all started with the residency, we were like, a lot of people actually do have little projects in their drawer that they want to, continue working on, or that they now might have the time to work on. So the first thing you can apply for is funded projects, a project idea, basically. And the second idea was, okay, there are many people who don't have projects in their drawer, but actually need support now, need funding now, and they can apply for project commissions, basically, Adobe commissions.
And the amount is always between 500 and 5,000? How does that work?
So basically what you do is the application for both is very similar. You send us your portfolio, of course. For the funded project, for the project proposal, you do a bit of a write-up what your project is about. And then you kind of like enter a budget range that you ask for. And given on that, we will decide how much money we can give you. Kind of like the idea behind this is, of course, we want to see, okay, what do you want to do with the budget? Is it like, man, I need a new camera? Is it just for like technical things, or is it really like for other things? Is it like for supporting yourself as an artist or creative? Is it because you need the budget to develop something that also actually helps other people? Mm-hmm. So we kind of have like the last call on how much. And also within the project commissions, of course, kind of like depends on what we ask you for. There are several ideas that we can actually commission you with, not just like artwork, but also, writing a piece on something, campaign artwork. We are also thinking of asking people to do portfolio reviews, for example, or writing. Did I say that already? I think so. Writing articles or something on a creative practice, for example, on your artworks, things like that. So there's like a whole lot of things that we can support you with, basically, or ask you for.
So I saw there was also like a calendar. Can you on the page?
Yeah, I can scroll down. So here are basically this is
that's very important because you know people say, oh, surely it's only for US, Canada, Germany, France, and UK. No.
And that's the really cool thing is it's not as the residency where we're kind of like focused on a few countries because it's such an intense program. The Creative Community Fund is really open for all the countries in the world. You have to be 18.
Except, of course, countries, where, like the US, some countries, unfortunately, are embargoed, and that are countries that a US company cannot do business with. So these countries are unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it's always, you have to remember that.
Yeah. Of course. So you have to be 18. You have to be able to write an invoice to us. Okay. You have to speak English because basically we, as a team, most of the team sits in San Francisco, and you know, that's like our language. Except for Japanese candidates, they have to speak Japanese because they get handled by our Japanese colleague. Of course, you have to be a visual creative, digital visual creative. You're applying with Adobe, so of course, because you have to. It's not for fine artists; it's for digital visual creatives and creators from all different disciplines. You know, it can be a graphic designer, it can be illustrator, photographer. La 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 la.
So before just I'm going to stop you after la 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 la, because you know the question came up again. We just covered that, Jonathan. What's the difference between a project commission and a funded project? Basically, the funded project is an idea that you come up with and that we fund for you to realize, okay, to create it, okay?
Yeah.
A funded project, no, a project commission, on the other hand, is, say, you're a creative, you would need the funds, I don't know, for various reasons. We can provide a commission, like something that you do for us that we can then remunerate. So I think I love this mix where I can either have an idea and I can like work on my passion project, or if I'm a creative who's maybe struggling right now in these difficult times, I can still apply for a commission, like like if we like your style or the work you do, or if we see that this whole thing fits with what we need, then of course we can commission projects.
And I know the questions coming up now about commissioned projects, commissioned artwork. Of course, we are not asking for like campaign stuff and just give you like $5,000. Don't think about that. Think about like small things that we could probably commission you with. So it's not like we get stuff for free or for nearly free. That's not the idea. The idea is really we really want to support as many people as possible, as many creatives that are struggling right now, and there's a chance for all of you.
And Jackie is asking as well, can you apply for a funded project and a commission? Nope. Either or.
Sorry.
To be super clear as well, a couple people are asking about the residency and the fund. The residency applications are closed. So
residency applications are closed. Different thing. You can apply for the residency and for the fund. That's not a problem because it's like two separate things. Residency applications closed, will open at the end of the year again. So the fund is really for now, and also a bit for later because it also runs the whole year. But it's kind of,
I think with the applications for the residency, though, that there's a space somewhere where you can type in your email so you can get notified when they open again, which is what I did, which was super helpful.
Thank you.
You should do that if you're interested in applying when they open again.
That's completely right. So if you go on the website, basically, I'm doing this for you. And I think if you go, that's for the creative residency now, not for the fund, okay? If you're interested for the residency and want to be notified when the application opens, you have to find the right thing. You're right, not there. Maybe here, how to apply. There's also like the whole thing of a timeline. And then somewhere here says, get notified next year. Next year is not correct, I would say. Talks in residency years, it's end of the year, but if you click on get notified, you can enter your email address. And get
also interesting, right next to it is are you overqualified? Apply for to be a mentor.
Yes.
Can you say something about that?
Yeah, so mentorship is like a big thing for the creative residency. We try to find mentors for our residents. Sometimes it's good if we have kind of like a database with cool people. because then, we don't have to, it's not like a hard work or something. So we really actually have cool people that we can match with the residents. So actually that's why we opened up basically a form, right? Where you can like leave your details for us. The thing is, like, if you apply, there's no 100% guarantee to match, because really also depends on the discipline, right? If you apply as an illustrator, unfortunately this year we don't have illustration residents. It's not going to work. But if you're in our database, like Rufus, how is it, right? If you're in Adobe's database, at some point we pull you out and ask you for other things. So we're always looking for cool people doing cool stuff. And even if the mentor matching doesn't work this year, then maybe something else can happen. If you're like out there and
I wouldn't call it the database. It is a database, but I would call it like the magical Rolodex or something. Pick out talent.
Whatever that is. Yeah. So
from last century. I'm sorry. Nobody in the chat knows what the Rolodex is. But anyway, I think we should go back to the Creative Fund, Franziska.
Yeah, because time's running out. So
talk about the timeline.
Okay. Let's talk about the timeline. So apply now. As I mentioned before, it's running over the whole year. The timeline looks a bit difficult. It's also very difficult for me to understand, but we try, because we know that most of the applications will come now, and we need some time to go through all of them. So the applications will be open all the time. So you can basically apply whenever you feel ready. These are times when we say, okay, cut here, and we go through all the applications that arrived to that day. So the first time we will do that is on June 1st. We'll go through all applications. We will need a bit of time to go through all of them. In the last week, where this whole fund has been open, we already got like 900 applications. So this will be massive for us. We are like a very small team. So we need a bit of time to evaluate. These are the times actually when we start to get in touch with people. So you apply until June 1st, and then June 22nd, 3 weeks later, we actually start to talk with the first batch of people. Then a month later, we start to talk to the second batch.
Almost on a monthly basis at that point.
On a monthly basis. If you don't get notified, you will roll over to the next quarter, basically.
Exactly. And that is in answer to Jackie's question. It says you can only apply once. That is right.
Yeah.
So basically, if you apply in June and, we don't contact you in August or November or February, maybe it's going to be March, who knows? But you can only apply once. So it's not useful to apply many times. Actually, it'll make us just more nervous because it's more stuff to check. So remember to be very focused. Like before you apply, just make sure that you either choose, I need a funded project or I need an Adobe project commission. Make up your mind, apply for it, and give the best answers that you can in the form, and then wait it out.
I think, we don't have much time. So actually, if there are like questions in the chat, then I would talk about them. There's actually, when you go on the website, on the community fund side, there's like this application PDF. Read it through, because basically there are all your questions answered. There's also the difference between funded project and project commission. The only thing for funded, basically project commission, just enter your details and the tools you're working with, so we can match Adobe folks with you, basically, for a commission. Funded project, you need an idea, project idea, and you don't need to do like a PDF or something. There are 3 or 4 text fields where you enter your idea, timeline, and 2 other questions. And this is in the application PDF. So you also don't have to go into the form already and start to fill it out. Download the application PDF, read through the questions, prepare, and then send in your application.
Yes. That's one very important tip. Read the documentation, read the PDF, make sure, because, we get a lot of applications that are incomplete or, and we have to put them aside right away because it's not fair to those who actually read it, and who actually followed all the necessary steps to make it easier to select the projects or the residents or all of that. So please download the PDF, read it, and then make your decisions.
Question.
Guys, I think we're coming up to time. Everyone seems to be happy in the chat with questions answered. So everyone knows the main takeaway now. Apply for the community fund. All the links have been in the chat. And an extra channel to reach us on is Discord, where we'll also be sharing all those links and information. So James has a final question. Get onto Discord and we'll be able to answer as well. And get onto all these little bits. Yes, Rufus.
And Tim just put the link to the Discord. And please, Christina, join us on Discord as well. And I will promote you to Adobe Live guest. And it's a growing community. Let me just check right now, because we started just a few days ago. But in the Adobe Live UK Discord, that's 26, 62. Yeah, we're almost 100. Yeah, almost 100 people already just in a few days. So I'm super happy of how that's working. It's a very vibrant community over at Discord as well. People are chatting amongst each other and giving advice, and exactly what I had imagined when I started it. So I'm super happy about that. And Christina, what can I say? Have a great creative residency. And of course, we will see you again on Adobe Live, in the coming months. Also to hear, how the residency is going and what you've been working on. And as we mostly do on Adobe Live many times, is also look a little bit at your process. So maybe how you retouch things or how you put things together. Adobe Dimensions looks like very promising and interesting for the audience. I think that's something that, that could be very interesting. And wow, I just love the creative residency and this whole new, creative residency community. And because for the community. Franziska.
I'm also super excited, like all the cool projects we will support. I'm, not just happy, but I'm really excited about like all the people we can work with. So yes, apply.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Sounds
you.
Great. Christina, we wish you the best of luck and can't wait to see you again and follow your journey. And tomorrow we'll be back for some illustration with another Adobe Run project. So stay tuned. We'll see you all on Behance at 12.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.